just the way it is. Oh, here we go. So they haven't moved that much further than where they were a bit earlier. I think they got stuck in this thicket. Just give you a quick look. I think it's going to be difficult to get a decent shot, but there's the elephant there. Just standing in this thick bush here. I think let's go forward a little bit and see if we can perhaps get into a slightly better view, have a slightly different angle here. Oh, they're not walking, they're feeding. That is why they're not getting out to Buffelshoek. But they are a lot closer than they were, that's for sure. There we go. And now it's just a patience game, I'm afraid. What is sure to be... Oh, look at that baby elephant coming through there. That is awesome. Little guy, probably just a couple of weeks old actually at this particular point. They stay wobbly for about 2 or 3 weeks, to be honest. He doesn't look too wobbly, or she doesn't look too wobbly. Let's just see exactly how wobbly that is. Not too wobbly at all. Standing on one leg there just to prove me wrong. Trunk, functional, a little bit. A trunk doesn't hang inert for 6 months, but it does take them about 6 months to get to learn how to use it. There you can see a little bit picking up, well, maybe not as young as I thought it was initially. You can see just playing there, not really doing anything, so not weaned yet. Although it'll take two years to wean completely. That trunk, I would say, if I were to guess how old that elephant is probably in the region of about, what am I going to say here? 2 months? Maybe 8 weeks old? So Ellie, you've just asked how old elephants are. Oh, you get from this one, which I would say is probably about 2 to 3 months old, to the oldest elephants in the Kruger National Park are up around 60, plus or minus 60 years of age, with the oldest animals in the park probably being a mixture between a leopard tortoise and a Nile crocodile at about 100 years, maybe a little bit over 100 years. Everything else below that sort of ranges from rhino and at about 40 years, 35, 40 years, to buffalo around about 20, 25 years. And then you get a whole bunch of things at about the 25 years. Some spiders here get 20 years old, baboon spiders, our version of the tarantula. Some termite and ant queens, 20 years old. 12 to 20 years old, can you believe? Lion and leopard, 10 to 16 years old. And then your antelope below that, anything from 12 downwards to about 5. Hello there. This elephant can sometimes look puzzled. That quintessentially, that view that you just had there of that elephant standing in the sand is dry elephant special. Elephant moving through dung with no grass. That there, exactly. Screenshot that. Bang, is dry land special. VM doing. Contrast that to January. Save it. Put it somewhere. Let it come up as a reminder. And you'll see how very, very different the bush looks like in January. Just 6 months away from now. Yeah, 6 months away from now. These elephants are making these soft rumblings with one another. Cayman, you've just asked me a question about elephant behavior when they swing their front foot forward and backwards when they're grazing, and what does that mean? It could mean anything. It could mean them kicking grass or kicking bushes loose with their toes. They use their toes as a type of tool. It could just be distraction. They get bored and they start fiddling around with their trunks and with their feet. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. It could be aggression. It could be kicking out at something. Elephant can kick as a defensive mechanism. Oh, just look at that view. It doesn't mean anything specific though, Cayman, if that's what you're referring to. Oh, just look at that white hot sky. Quite dusty, just dusty, kicked up by their feet. No grass, branches. I don't know, it's when I'm in deep summer, I miss these types of views. When I'm in deep winter, I can't wait for the green again. One thing that we spoilt with here in the dry time is something that Brent absolutely loves. He just loves the mass of large animals that we get here in the drought or in the dry. He loves the thin bush that you can see through. He loves the massing of animals around watering points and around food. I'm now completely opposite. I absolutely love the buzz of all the life around summer. I absolutely love the fact that there's just something to look at on every bush and around every corner. Now what's this female going to do? Don't come and chase me, please. I don't want to do your baby any damage whatsoever. I'm just going to get myself into a position where if needs be I can start the car. There we go. Dina, you're 100% right there. I also love this scene. It does seem very peaceful. And now we're going to prove that. There's a female with a tiny calf. Calf's coming up behind her. They are 5 yards from us. And she is feeding babies. You can see the baby will lift its tail a little bit. It's a sign of distress that the baby is distressed. Mom is keeping herself presented to us. No, there we go. I'm not yet to do anything to you. There we go. Carry on. So all I did there was just raise my voice a little bit. She obviously can't understand us. Okay, we've got elephant behind us now, and we've got elephant in front of us. I'm just trying to keep my head on both. But have a look at that little baby. Isn't that just absolutely fantastic? VM just showing you these elephant coming behind us. That's also a massive cow. That's actually a young bull. So that's a young bull, teenager, still with mom. So about 15 or 20 yards behind the car, and then we've got this female. She represents the biggest threat here, and it's her that we've got to keep happy, and we keep her happy by respecting her. Respecting the fact that she's got a baby and that she'll be feeling nervous about the baby's security. Respectful of distances. We don't want to go and get in her space. We allow her to approach us, but not the other way around. Now you can see her family has crossed the road and she's happy. And her little one going to join with her. Just such a special sighting. One of the things here that you can't get in many of the African game parks is this proximity and this intimacy with these animals. No other cars around us, just these animals, and completely at peace and in harmony with us. One of the special things about the Kruger National Park, and always something that I yearn for when I'm visiting other national parks. This little guy now is being left behind, which is very typical of a teenager. He's just into his teens. I would say that this young elephant isn't much older than 11, if he's even there. Just now seeing if it's a male or a female. That'll help me gauge size a little bit. I can't see from this angle. It's impossible for me to tell. Let's see now when the foot moves at the back. It is a... still can't see. Still giving me a bit of hassle there. Alright, now, also covering itself, we can look at the forehead. That forehead seems like it's angled, in which case it might be a little bit older than 11 as a female. But to be 100% sure, we just have to look between the back legs for his sheath, or lack thereof, and that'll confirm it. He's behaving like a youngster. Oh, he's making it difficult for me to see. What do you think, VM? I think it's a female. VM also thinks it's a female. So let's call it, it's a female. So also still a teenager, young enough for her not to have her first calf. They have their first calves anywhere from about 12 to about 18. And so I would say that she's probably no older than 12 or 13 years old, more than likely closer to about 11. And that trunk coming towards us there. Now, I'm absolutely sure that we've been in one of these conglomerations. Oh, look at that. What are you doing? Can't you just break off a branch and be happy? You can reach all the way to the top. Do you have to push that tree down? You're being lazy, and now you've just broken a knobthorn. He's an elephant. So I'm actually convinced that this afternoon we've been privy to one of these rare collections of elephants. I mean, in total we've probably seen about 60 elephant today, and they're all in the same area, although they've splintered now into these groups that are probably about, I'd say now probably about 2 miles from end to end, but literally around every corner we're seeing elephants. So they're still well within communication distance of one another. They've converged on a feeding source, not water. They've converged on Ellies having a sand bath. Quickly going to go over to Mom here. She's busy having a sand bath. There we go. Using the sand to swat at flies and other stinging insects. And look at baby, precocial behavior. Yeah, reaching up to Mom. What are you doing? Oh, that's cute, man. You can't help but to be moved by baby elephant. I just think they're one of the most special youngsters out here in the bush. Very, very, very close to Mom for the first couple of years. Here we've got this elephant now approaching us. Let's see what she does now on the other side. She's finished playing with her tree, killed the tree, moved on after eating one mouthful. You're being wasteful. That there confirms that she's a female for me. Just the angle that she urinated at there. Whoa, beautiful, the dust coming off her ears. Once again, I just want to echo a previous comment about how peaceful this is. All right, and with this elephant coming up to us now, I don't know what she's going to do, but we've got Sindile coming down a tree, and I think because we don't see him as often as we do, off you go to him.
So the patience game has paid off. He just pounced up the tree, but he's looking a bit uncomfortable at the moment. I thought he might come down, but he might just be repositioning to get into a better spot to feed. And as I said, it's not the best tree, but I think it was the closest and most convenient tree. Lacks shade, and I think a lioness would be able to climb that tree to get to that carcass if they happen to come up across it. We don't know, maybe there were hyena around when he first caught it, or he was dragging it, so he had to make a quick decision, put it in the tree, keep it away from the hyenas. There we go, it looks like he's about to settle down and feed. Can't imagine that's the most comfortable tree to lie in. Now, Jason's favourite Sindile story is when he failed dismally to catch a gerbil for over an hour, and he did give us much joy with failed hunts. jumping into guarri trees to try and catch tiny rattling testiculars. And he was a very entertaining young male leopard. Not to say he isn't still entertaining, but he is a bit older, so not quite as playful as he was when we first really got to know him. Yeah, the bones crunch there. Trying to move it into a more comfortable position. Now, initially I thought it was a female impala, but I can now see horns, so it's a yearling male impala, one of the babies that would have been born in between November and January last year. Okay, what are they going to do, since he's now seemed to be settled in that feeding area? Now, Vic is wondering if we ever show how the leopard kills the animal. Well, Vic, we are live, so if we happen to be there while they're hunting, yes, we will show the hunt and how the animal is killed. He killed this before we found him, so probably between 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock this morning, judging by how much had been fed on by the time we first arrived a couple of hours ago. So, Vic, yes, if we're lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time, we will show how the leopards hunt and kill animals. Okay, he looks quite settled there, so I'm going to try and move around to the other side, see if we can get a different view. It's just wonderful. I told you, playing the patience game, sitting and waiting, we were going to get some spectacular visuals of them up in a tree. So the sun is setting directly behind them, so it could be a bit harsh. I'm just going to try a few spots to see where we get the best view from. I think it's going to be around here somewhere. What do you think, Dave? I think that's the spot. Put Dave in the trees, but that's okay, he'll survive. Hey, mister. Is that yummy? Yummy impala. So that clickety click is just me getting a snapshot of his beautiful face. Now I think as the light dips lower and lower, this is going to turn into a particularly spectacular sighting. Who knows, well, we're going to get lucky enough to get the leopard silhouetted against the blood red sunset. just trying to move it into a more comfortable position again. He's got his head right inside the rib cage. Now, you probably find he's already eaten the high nutrient organs like the heart, the liver, kidneys. He's now having himself some ribs. Hi, Laurie. Laurie would like to know, why is it that lions are a social cat and stay together and leopards don't? Well, they've evolved into different evolutionary niches, Laurie. Lions being bigger and taking down bigger prey species like buffalo, hippo, and even occasionally elephant. It helps to be a social animal and hunt cooperatively, whereas leopards rely on camouflage and stealth, and they've evolved to be a solitary, I wanted to say sneaky, that's probably not the right word. What am I looking at? What's the word I'm looking for here, Dave? A solitary and stealthy predator. So if there were more of them, the camouflage wouldn't be as relevant, and they are ambush predators, and they generally they have to get to within about 5 meters before they go into full charge mode to grab something. So if there were a lot of you, it wouldn't work. So it's just different evolutionary designs of the big cats. Now, Sandy in sunny Florida would like to know, is there a chance that tree will fall over? I don't think so, Sandy. It's quite a sturdy tree. It is a red bush willow, and per cubic centimeter, it is one of the hardest trees, and the wood is one of the hardest woods in the African bush. And it's so hard and so strong, it's so heavy that if you had to put a log into water, it would sink. You can just make out, where's my hand, Dave? Am I in the wrong place? There we go. You can just see that spike there. There we go, you can see the horns of that young male impala. Now, impala of that age are often referred to as pen kops or pen heads, because their horns are about the same size as a very big pen. Now that's in Afrikaans, one of the local languages here in South Africa. Now, Clarissa in Arlington is saying that she heard that the leopards don't eat the stomach of their prey. That is not completely true, Clarissa. So they don't eat the stomach contents. Now, if you're a leopard, you eat protein and meat, and the stomach contents of any of a leopard's prey is going to be undigested grass. They will eat the stomach lining, however. So that is what we would call the stomach. So the same thing haggis is made out of, or offal. That people eat, and a leopard would definitely not waste that meal. So they do eat the stomach lining, Clarissa. So while we sit here with young Sindile, see what he gets up to next. Maybe he'll come down the tree right next to us. And while we wait, let's go see what Stef's doing. I'm not even sure where he is at the moment.
Brent, I'm busy buzzing around Buffelshoek Dam because I'm waiting for that herd of elephant that we were just with to get there. They're not there now. We sat there for a bit, and then Veerman and I decided that we haven't driven on a Pahina road for a bit, and we're going to give it a bash. That's what we're going to do. I hear that Sindile is busy trying to inhale that impala as quickly as he can. That's amazing. it's nice that we get to see it again. I don't know if Brent's been telling you, but the scientist that put the collar on him and that manages the whole program is baffled by the fact that this young male is not dispersing. He's actually staying in his natal range, and not only is he staying in his natal range, he's doing so in the Sabi Sands, which has such massive leopard concentrations comparative to other places. It's a new thing to science, actually, the data that he's collecting, and it's just, I don't know, I think it's quite interesting to see all this sort of stuff, you know. I like the fact that we're adding to science with what we do and on our observations. It's nice. It generates a nice feeling. Alright, so Hyena Road is coming up if VM and I don't crash into a tree first, because we're looking into this white hot ball of fire that is our star, and that at the moment is just sort of unrelenting. I just want to sort of hold it back and hold it away from me at the moment. Anyway, I suppose I can always choose to drive in the opposite direction. Andre, you've asked me what is the most amazing sighting that I've ever had. Well, I don't know, you know, the things are starting to blur together at this particular moment, and so I'm going to talk about probably one of the most amazing recent sightings that I had. Myself and Scott and Brent were acting as trackers and as walk support during the Mother's Day shows at the beginning of the year in May. And what happened was we came around a corner and we saw a bunch of female nyala standing in a circle corralled around a tree, busy staring intently into this tree. And immediately we knew that something was there that was getting these nyala's attention. We stopped the car and got out and walked literally amongst these impala. They didn't even budge. The one nyala still looked over her shoulder as if to say, like, hey man, what are you doing, type thing, you know, like, you're in my space here, but I'm going to carry on watching what's down here. And after a little bit of inspection, we couldn't really see anything. When we went closer, Scott's foot was about this far away when I spotted a python, a massive python, lying curled up in this litter, in this leaf litter. Obviously it was trying to get away from these nyala, or it was trying to catch one of the baby nyala. And a python that size was fully capable of catching and killing and eating one of these nyala. But when we finally got to see this snake, we moved a few of the bushes away. We don't pick up snakes here. We actually don't. We have a policy at Wild Earth that we don't touch anything here. And when we moved away the sticks around her so we could properly see this snake, she must have been about that fat at her fattest point, like that. We're talking about probably close on, I don't know, 15 feet of snake, maybe even as much as 16 feet of snake. Just an absolutely beautiful specimen of African rock python here. And she was really relaxed. I call it a she because only the females really get that size. She was so relaxed, she allowed us to sit right next to her, and we shared a moment just sitting with this giant here, this monarch, I don't know what else to call her. She's just this monument to just conservation. And we ended up just sitting there and sharing most of the afternoon with her. And that is probably one of the most recent memorable experiences that I have. Actually, I hope that answered your question there, Andre. It's nice to reminisce about these things sometimes, you know. Right, we're coming to a particularly bumpy part of Hyena Road. This is what makes this road so terrible to drive on when it is summer. It's just these hollows fill up with mud, and then the buffalo go and lie in them and turn them into these big jacuzzis. And you can see over here, friend Brent would see that as a mere ripple in his search for cats. Me, I almost like to go down and go up, take it quite slowly. I mentioned, as you joined us today, I mentioned that I'd taken over Brent's car. He's been in Rusty for the last couple of days. And it's always a bad thing to keep Brent in a car for any lengthy period of times, because his artwork that he creates with these Land Rovers is quite unique. He disassembles them, bits and pieces fall off, and he reassembles them with bits and pieces of branch and twig and so on and so forth. And his artwork was, now are we going to push this? Let's see if we can push this out the way with the car first. What I don't want to do is break our very expensive 360-degree camera there. No, you know what? I'm gonna have to chop this. So let me just get into a position where you can watch my efforts. Right, all the paraphernalia. Let me get the panga. Make sure that there isn't any elephant going to step on my head while I do this. Tuck in all my cords. Alright, the trick with these pangas is to try and get it at an angle that you can, and you'll feel when it starts to bite before you start to take these bites out here. And then to try and take as fewer chops as possible. Yeah, to do it. Now, my dear friend, I talk about him quite often, but my dear friend Richard Nduban was an absolute master with a panga. He knew the correct angle on any piece of wood so that he could literally chop it through in a couple of chops. It's a pity. This is it's a lead wood. All right, and now for the last one. See if we can get this one done. Chop off all of these. That one is taking a bit more than that first one did. All right. Put this down here. And the reason why I'm chopping this out of the way is that we don't really want to drive around it and create another road. To be honest, we've got enough roads here. Now you see that being hasty and not checking the angle properly. One last one. Almost done. All right, and that is tree clearing 101. Light sheen of sweat. Right. All this paraphernalia. Plug myself back in. And there we go. Road clean. Without me hacking my foot off with the panga, which is a good thing. Alright, and on that note, I'm going to send you over to James, who's on those massive open plains of the Mara.
Hello everybody, we're just trying to fix the sound, which I think is back up now. There we are. Hi. We haven't found anything spectacular at this stage of the game. What we have found is a vista, the likes of which will probably bring tears to your eyes, and if it doesn't, you can be fairly sure that your heart is not as large as it should be. Look at that. A great grey cloud rolling in from the southwest. Endless space. The escarpment of the great Rift Valley there, just below the sun, that you can see there. Just the oddly placed tree under which we've been looking, each one. Graham has been forcing me to peer until my eyes are sore, looking for lions. We're trying to find lions because we're going to see if we can maybe follow them tonight. And it is a little difficult, but I am failing to find any disadvantage in not finding lions, because this is the kind of thing we've been looking at all day long. And as the sun begins to set, you can just see how the colours have become an astonishing sort of, well, I don't really know. I guess everything's turned to honey, basically. The grass is honey coloured. This is that red oat grass, much of it what we call Themida triandra, or red grass in South Africa. Each of those trees, there's some boskia trees or shepherd's bushes, there are a couple of acacias, and a huge grey cloud coming in from the southwest, which may or may not bring rain, we're not sure. But what we did find on the first day was when you were driving around here, what happened was that every time that you found a bubble where there weren't wildebeest, there was normally something else there. We found lions in one of those bubbles, and that's what we're trying to do here. Now, Tim, on the subject of these sparsely arranged trees, you say, why are they so sparsely arranged? Tim, I don't know exactly, but my guess is that this is it's a what they used to term a climax grassland, which means that it's been rendered this way by fire. It's got a very particular soil type that's very good for the development of this grass. But I think mostly what you'll find is that these numbers of wildebeest, these huge numbers of animals that come through this area, have kept the seedlings down. The grazing of this kind of grass stimulates its growth, and I think that's why the bush has been kept in check largely by the numbers of animals. I think were you to remove the animals from this area, I think you'd find that the bush would take over. Probably, maybe not too quickly, but it would certainly get a lot thicker. And the soil type here is sort of, well, I don't know exactly what its derivation is, but it will get very inundated. It's quite clay, it's got quite good nutrients in it, and it gets very inundated with water during the rainy season. Is that not just the most beautiful thing? There is a vulture. Now, you know what? Hello, Tony. You say you haven't teared up, but you do think it's amazing. Tony, that's all right. I think your heart is big then. Now, for those of you who are keeping a bird list of safari live birds, that could be a new one. I think that could well be, I can't see exactly from here, but it does look like a Ruppel's vulture. We have seen many Ruppel's vulture while we've been here. It looks very much like a white-backed vulture, and that's what I think that one is. Now I just want to see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's what that one is. Now, what else? Oh, we did. Also, the other thing that we had to show you here was a jackal, and it was a side-striped jackal, and it seems to have disappeared. Apparently, it has a den in this region. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a jackal pup, but it is an extremely cute thing to see. What have you got there, Graham?
Where's that carcass of it?
Ah, there's a carcass. There we are. Graham has found a carcass, everybody. No, that I think is a tussock. Let's go. There we are. There it is there. Well done, Graham. That's it there. Now, Graham, of course, is convinced that that was murdered by lions. I think it might have been, but what's interesting is that it hasn't been finished. So, even if it was killed by lions, what's fascinating is that it's been left. There's lots of meat left on that thing. There are no hyenas here, there are no lions here. I think the necessity to eat, well, there could be lions here, sorry, the cameraman just gave me a nasty glare. They don't have the necessity to eat rotting flesh here because there is so much fresh stuff in the offing. And I think many of these animals die of natural causes. Now, Zoe, you had a nice question. I think about when the animals move away from these clearings. Is that right, Lou? Not getting it. Okay, right. Zoe, when it's summer. Right, Zoe, we're very, very close to the equator here, so the seasons are almost the same all the year round. So in theory we're in winter, because we're just south of the equator, probably about 200 kilometers or so. That's about 120 miles. And yes, it is in summertime, so I guess that would be any time during the summer when we have summer down in the south there, yes, they aren't here. I'm not sure it's so much seasonal. They do tend to follow the rains, but I'm not sure it would be to do with hot and cold. Certainly there is a seasonality about the growth of the grass here and about the rains and when they fall. And that's what they move around for. But I mean, we're in theory in winter here. I think you'll find that the mean temperature here is very much less widely, there's a much less wide deviation from cold to hot than there would be down where we are in the Kruger, where it goes from, say, 4 degrees or 40 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up in summer to 45 degrees Celsius, which is about 109 or so degrees Fahrenheit. Here I think you'll find that range is much smaller. Hello Aaron, you say the Ruppel's vulture takes your list to 104. That's great news. Graham wants to know where the jackal's gone. Graham, I can't find it, to be honest. It's not very difficult for a jackal to hide in these parts. Of course,
Brent was here, he'd find it.
Graham just saying there, if Brent was here, he would find it. Yes, I'm sure he would, Graham. He is 6'4", of course, which means that he would have concussed himself several times on the roof of this Land Cruiser. You see what I have to work with, everybody? This is the kind of nonsense I have to deal with on a daily basis. Sorry, James Richard, I missed your question there. I'm going to have to ask for it again. You want to know if I've seen any new species of hornbill? I haven't, actually. I saw one fly over. I heard a trumpeter hornbill yesterday, but actually I haven't seen much in the way of hornbills at all. So, no, nothing new in the hornbill range at this stage. Right, I think we're probably going to have... let's look under the sun there, Graham. The hyena research vehicle has stopped. Now this is how you have to find animals here, of course, because you can't track, because it's totally impossible to track. It's totally impossible to track animals across the grass there, right there, that little speck there in the middle of the screen. There you are. And what happens is you can't also walk. You're not allowed to walk here. So it's very much a case of scanning the clearings and looking where the other activity is. Alright everybody, that's a brief segment from us here in Kenya. Astounding that we're able to be here, and really just views that will bring tears to your eyes and make your heart swell and be happy to be alive. Let's head back across to Sindile, who is also happy to be alive and disease-free.
He nearly dropped the impala out of the tree, so we're just actually waiting here. I thought he might come down the tree right towards us, so I'm standing by, and we're going to stay here for a little bit. I know it's not the best visual, but if he comes down the tree, he's going to come down like this right towards us, and that will be an absolutely spectacular sight. So that's why I'm sitting exactly where I'm sitting at this very moment in time. Now, often a lot of this stuff is about, I suppose, educated guessing. When he's going to come down to the tree, where's the best spot to sit. But, see, he stopped feeding, and he started cleaning. And it's not a very comfortable tree. So that's why I'm hoping, that's why I'm sitting here where we don't have the best view, that I'm hoping he's going to come down the branch right at us. And that would be a really special sight. Sorry, guys. Oof, sorry. The man flu strikes again. So he's still preening, cleaning. So I'm hedging my bets, and I think I'm right. I think in the next 2 or 3 minutes he's going to come down the tree directly at us. So it is worthwhile having a slightly compromised view for the next couple of minutes. What do you think, Dave?
We got a chance.
We got a chance. I think we got a bit more than a chance. He doesn't look too comfortable. He's actually lying on top of the carcass. He did make a bit of a fool out of himself, nearly dropping it out of the tree earlier. There was absolute panic in his eyes as he managed to just grip it before it plummeted to the ground. And quite funny, there was absolute panic and not a hyena in sight. Normally, that type of panic is incited by the other apex predator, a lion or a hyena underneath. Now he is motoring through this carcass, so I think he'll probably be here tomorrow morning, but by tomorrow evening I think this will be done. Come on, time to come down the tree. It's not very comfortable sleeping up there. See that heavy panting, even though the temperature has dropped quite a few degrees already. Still with that meat full of belly, the digestive process causes heat, and the big cats, or cats in general, are not very good at dispelling heat. They're unable to sweat like us or horses, and their panting is not as effective as that of the dog. So they do have to pant. So basically what's happening when they're panting, all the really warm blood is going into the vessels in their mouth and on their tongue, and they're drawing the cool air over that, and then they're sending the cooler blood back through the rest of their body. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that wonderful sky. James is wondering, why don't lions climb trees like the leopards? Well, James, they're a bit too heavy. Although this tree, I think if the Nkuhuma ladies were here, this is a tree they might be able to get up and steal that kill. It's, as I said, it's not an ideal tree to place a kill. So a lion could climb this tree. They do climb trees, they're just not as good as it as leopards, and a lot of that is because they are too heavy. Okay, we're going to give you 1 more minute before we reposition. Come down the tree now. I demand it of you, you little nonsense. Of course, he doesn't have to listen to me. And for those of you who might have been new or not quite sure what's going on, we are sitting in the middle of the African bush, taking you on a live African safari. So you are seeing a male leopard sitting in the tree at the exact same time as me. And you could be sitting in Honduras or Mumbai or Beijing. And I am in South Africa in the Sabi Sands Private Game Reserve. And if you want to ask me any questions about the wonderful wildlife we get here, you can do that as well. Being live, it enables us to be interactive. So send me questions using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter, or send me an email to questions@WildEarthTV. James Duncan says his favourite sighting of Sindile was the first time we saw him when he came back from quarantine, and James and I were both there and incredibly excited. And that we were. Oh, there we go. Are you going to sleep in the tree on top of your Impala? Are you going to make me move? He is going to make me move. Okay, well, sometimes you get it wrong. I want to stay on this side in case he does come down, so I can move into a good position when he moves. Now, we are hoping as that sun dips lower and lower that he does stay in the tree, and we can set up a leopard silhouette shot for you guys. But while we maneuver around, let's go back to Stef and see what he's been up to. We
we have literally just gone around the block, and now we've come up on the other side of this herd with this tiny little baby elephant, and they are, I think with enough tenacity and time, we will actually get this right. But what I do have to comment on, I've been dying to comment on it since I heard that you went over to the Mara and watched that fantastic sunset and that fantastic thunderstorm in the distance, from what I can gather. Isn't it just amazing that to me really gives you the idea and the sense of where you are. You watched a sunset 4,000 kilometers away from here because it's much further east than where we are now. And we've still got the sun up. I'll show you now through the twigs. That's our sun. It's still well above the horizon. Here's the gap between the sun and the trees. And you were watching a sunset with James. And to me, that sort of couldn't really put it into perspective. I couldn't put it into perspective any other way for you. That the sun's already set there with him, yet we're still sitting in the sunlight here, looking at this elephant approaching Buffelshoek Dam. Sindile, thank you very much. You said that I have, or we have here, the best job of them all. And how did we get this job? I'll first tell you how you get it generally, because I think that's probably your question, and then I'll tell you how I got this particular job. But generally, Sindile, these wildlife or field guiding jobs, you have to train a little bit nowadays. Some companies do in-house training, others run academies where you can do training. You then spend a few years getting some experience, and then quite often you try and move up the ladder to the more, I don't know how else to say, the more premier lodges, I would. And the reason why you'd go there, it's because they tend to have the best concessions, you know, in the best areas. And so you almost, I know I certainly did, aspire to work in the best areas and for the best companies that I could. And then field guides generally and sadly, unfortunately, move out of this industry after 2 to 5 years or so. They move out of this industry and they go and do all manner of things, from in the tourism hospitality industry. It could be hotel management, it could be training, it could also be freelance guiding or freelance photography, tour operating, that type of thing is the terminal point. But there's a new terminal point, and that is this. It's wildlife presenting. It's exactly what we're doing at the moment. And this, as far as I'm concerned, is another avenue to use for field guides, and it's why I'm here. And that all puts me onto the last point that I'm going to make, is that I went through the field guiding route and went on to lodge management and etc., none of which was appealing to me until I came across Wild Earth. And this wildlife presenting, this live wildlife presenting, to me, this is just, as you mentioned, probably the best job in the world. Oh, there are 2 baby elephants of the same age. That's pretty awesome. Let's go forward a little bit more so we can get a little bit more of them. Hello there, little guys. You were born around about the same time. Buddies. They're about as big as a German Shepherd, just to give you an idea. Maybe a large sheep. That's how small these little guys are. Isn't that just fantastic? Look at these little guys. Come now, have a game. Sun's going down, you can do it. Let's see if I can tell you what they are. Little male, little female. I think the little female's in front, and it looks like a little male at the back. All just copying mom. Not really needing to eat. They all still get all their sustenance from mom's milk. Oh, that is just epic. Mom just sort of coming out of the bush there, holding a tree in her face. Jan, all the way from Massachusetts. Good day there, Jan. You've asked me what's the mortality rate of elephant and what are the causes thereof. Jan, I don't actually know the mortality rate of elephant in the Kruger National Park. I wouldn't even begin to dare risk an answer. I'd say if I was pressed for my opinion on it, it would probably be about a 20% mortality. 2 out of every 10 calves, maybe 16 to 20%. That would be my guess. What they die of is exposure, drought, so lack of water, lack of food, and predation, and sickness and disease. So that would be what controls elephant numbers, would be drought, would be lack of food, and that is in the case of babies, mommy's milk drying up. It would be predation from lion and hyena, and it would be sickness and disease. And elephants can get sick. There's pages of diseases that elephants get. So they can absolutely get better. But even with all of that, I still think that the mortality rate is very low. 16 to 20% would be my guess. If there's any of you out there watching tonight or this afternoon, you're welcome to please try and research it for me. I don't have any current data available to me now. And send your answers through to questions@WildEarthTV or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. And if we do it quick enough, I'll be able to share it with everybody before the end of drive. So the mortality rate of elephant in the Kruger National Park, and if that isn't available, maybe as an estimate across Africa. Look at this little guy. Ears folded over their back. I actually quite enjoy that. That fold there, just like the blaze on a zebra's face, that to me is my favorite part of an elephant, is that fold of their ears on top of their head. Isn't that incredible? Maybe because I have such big ears, I'd also wish to fold them back across the back of my head. All right, and from this golden light, I think we're going to send you over to Sindile, who's silhouetted in the sunset.
There we go. Isn't that what we've been waiting for? And as the sun sinks lower and lower, it's going to get more spectacular, and hopefully he turns his head to look at us. Oh, he nearly did there. And hasn't this been fabulous? We are spending as much time as we can with this incredible male leopard because we don't know where he might be. Tomorrow he might disappear and go on his wandering, so it could be many a moon before we see him again. Although I think we might definitely see him unless he gets robbed by another leopard on the sunrise safari tomorrow. And I think by midday tomorrow he might be finished with his young male impala. What do you think, Dave? Should we try and move a bit further away to get a different angle? Jazz in North Carolina would like to know, do leopards sometimes forget where they put their kills in a tree, like a dog forgets where it buries its bone? Well, I've never seen a leopard forget. I've seen a leopard arrive to a kill that's been stolen by something and then look a bit confused, but I don't think they forget. So let's change up that angle, see if we can get a different sunset silhouette of young Sindile. Let's get that sun in the right spot. How's that looking for you, Dave? Perfect, that's the one. There we go. And so get ready on 3, 2, 1 screenshot away. I'm going to do the same. Although, I'm going to have to change my camera lens. The wide lens, the big lens, not the lens for this job. Isn't that just a magnificent sight? Dave waiting patiently for me to change my lens. We're having a competition. Who's framing? No, I'm only teasing. Oh dear, I seem to have filled my memory card to the brim. No fear. I have more. Dave's winning because he's... Oh, there we go. He's turned his head. There we go. Wasn't that perfect? As he turned his head, I hope you guys got it. I didn't. I think this is going to get more and more spectacular. It could even be nicer once that sun has actually set. And you're going to have that deep red on the horizon. Isn't this just a nice moment to sit quietly and reflect? I don't think we need much talking for a scene like this. Absolutely magic. Davey in Vancouver, I tend to agree with you. He doesn't look that comfortable. Mike, you'll be first standing by. So, isn't that just exquisite? So I don't think he's going to be moving anytime soon. So if he does, we'll be back in a flash to try and get a standing silhouette. But until then, Stef has got some cute baby pachyderms.
Leopard in the sunset, silhouetted against the sky. Life couldn't be better for you. Well done. Here we've got this little baby. We've been watching him since he left us. He's literally been picking leaf for leaf off of this tree, trying his best to try and get control of that trunk. Have a look at that. It is a buffalo thorn, and I'd like to believe that he's being careful because his trunk is still quite sensitive, hasn't toughened up yet, and those thorns are hurting him. You can have a look here. Just literally, just carefully, I would be putting my hand into that bush the same. You can see those viciously hooked thorns on that branch. A straight thorn and a hooked thorn of a buffalo thorn. Very, very good food for this little elephant. That buffalo thorn's leaves are just exactly what this little guy needs. And there seems to be enough on that branch to actually keep him full. Unlike his mom, who's eaten the whole tree that that branch comes from. This little guy. Still no evidence of tusks, so way below a year old. Tusks erupt for the first time when they're a year, roundabout. So with no evidence of tusks whatsoever, this little guy's got decent uses of his trunk. I would say he's probably around about that 6 months old, maybe a little bit less than that. Just busy picking leaf for leaf for leaf. Shindle, you commented a little bit earlier about this being the best job, and you're a new viewer. I didn't know about that. And so I'd like to be the first one to welcome you to the Wild Earth family and to Safari Live and to the community that is us and all of you out there. And you said you're a retired firefighter and that you thought your job was the best until this one. Well, you do have a fantastic, or you did have a fantastic job, Shindle. Firefighting is an honorable job, and after retiring from it, that is incredible. So no, welcome, and I'm glad that we can show you these elephants across the gap that is a couple of continents wide. Gracie, young Gracie, you said that that baby elephant is so cute and that it reminds you of your orphan called Snuggles, which is a present that you got for your birthday recently. Well, why don't you call this little elephant Snuggles then? If it reminds you of your little Snuggles, we'll name this young elephant Snuggles. So by the power vested in me as a game ranger on this road this day, I'll say that that is Snuggles. May you forever live up to your name. And promptly disappears into the bush. So sorry about that, Gracie. She thought it was a little bit too much pressure right now, I think. The big female there, she's just come out of the bush. That's about as big as females get out here. We passed, you know what, we passed actually another herd while you were with James and your sunset in the Mara. We passed another herd, which takes the total of elephant that we've actually seen today, probably close to about 60 or 70 elephant. And actually very close to where I was chopping that branch. I said that I needed to keep an eye out for the elephant that caused it, and it was literally, they were standing about 50 yards away from where I was chopping that tree. So I didn't look carefully enough. But 60 or 70 elephant around this area. We literally have had an elephant day today, well, an afternoon. We came out to spend some time with elephant, and it's turned into 3 hours with a super herd for this particular part of Africa. They don't get much bigger than what we've seen them today. Jordan, you also a new viewer, and so welcome to the Wild Earth family. Welcome to Safari Live. And you've asked me, is there any basis to the story that elephant never forget? Jordan, yes, there is actually a basis for that. They have an incredibly long olfactory memory, which is their smell memory. They can remember stuff after only having it smelt, after only having smelt it once. And I have only heard rumor on this. I haven't found any testimony to the fact, but that an elephant can remember a smell 20 years after smelling it. Can you imagine that? So 20 years, and I know that even in our brains, the olfactory sense is one of the longest held. But yes, it gives rise to the expression that elephants never forget, and there seems to be some basis of truth. But Brent's got some lion right at that Sindile. Off you go.
Okay, guys, we've got lions fighting, so I have to rush out of Sindile. This lioness is literally sending this Birmingham boy packing. I could hear them from Sindile. Look at that, she is sending him packing. Hold on. I'm going to try and keep up with it. Ifem, keep coming. She's chasing the male across power lines at the moment. Okay, look at this. She's now calmed down. Now that literally sounded like, it sounded like they jumped on a buffalo. They could have. You can hear her growling. I can't see who it is yet. It's one of the mothers. Something must have gone really wrong. No, it's not often you see a male lion vanquished like that. Copy, Mike. I've got a lioness and a male here. Confirm what's happening on your side. Okay, she's running. Apparently there's two other males. I wonder if this is all Birmingham's, or could there be a marauder that's in here? So hold on, we're going to try to find out what's going on. So there's apparently more males on Gallagher Shortcut. Copy, Mike, I'm en route. Okay, isn't this fascinating? I'm not exactly sure what's going on. And as I keep saying, you never know what's going to happen. And now we've got lions running here, we've got lions roaring over there, there's males fighting there, there was this lioness chasing the male. So we're going to try to get to where the males are, where the core thing is, where that other lioness ran straight into. But I'm not going to go through the bush, it'll take me too long, so I'm zooming around on the roads. Never a dull moment here on the Safari Live. Okay. Might confirm you're north of that first Shkova. So that lioness is running parallel to us, and she was jogging quite quickly. So apparently there's just two males and a single lioness there. Most likely, although that other interaction we just saw the end of really confused me about what's going on. I think it's possible that they could be just fighting over mating rights for that young lioness, but there could be something else going on. Until we get there, we can't really say for sure. Look at this. She's keeping up with us, and you've seen how fast I've been going. We can hear lions roaring to the north of us. High drama here in the Sabi Sands on Djuma Private Game Reserve. I'm so fascinated to see what's going on. Look at that dust coming off her feet. Mark, I'm with that single lioness who is running. She's going further east into the block. I'm just going to see where she's going for now. Just keep me updated on what's happening in your position. Okay, so I know everyone's quite worried about the cubs. That's why I'm sticking with the mom. I'm not going to the males. Oh, there we go. Okay, they're cubs. Here are the cubs. Let's do a quick head count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I've got 2 Ansattis and at least 6, 7. No, it looks like all the Mampimpans on Gallagher Shortcut at that Shkova. They're busy mobile west at the moment towards Gallagher Shortcut. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All cubs present and accounted for. And here come the lionesses. Wow. Now you can see all the greeting that's going on now. can see how alert some of the females are. These are all three of the mothers. What's going on, Mom? Okay, all's calm here. All the cubs are okay. So, Stef has got an absolutely incredible sight at Buffalo's Hook. This afternoon is just the gift that keeps on giving.
I must say, I agree 100% with you, Brent. This afternoon is just, it keeps on giving and just ramping up. And have a look at this. Finally, after 35 million times around Buffalo's Hook Dam today, we've got an elephant in the mud and the herd we've been following approaching. And this is a big bull elephant. He's not stuck in the mud. I just want to reassure everybody that he's not stuck in the mud. There he goes. You'll see him try and get out. He's battling a little bit. He might just be stuck. There goes one foot. Oh, there goes the other foot. Belly deep in the mud at Buffalo's Hook. Oh, it's Titanic getting out there. Look at that. Absolutely fabulous. And let's see what this youngster does. Probably just going to greet him. You can see the size difference between a big Kruger bull elephant and an immature bull elephant. Also, just going to wade straight into the mud. The fascination that these elephants have with this mud, I don't know. I have no answers for it. Let's see. Up plastering behind the head. It's been a hot day. Viam and I were just actually saying the sun has blasted us today. So I can only imagine what it has been like for these Ellies. There we go. Oh, flop down. Finally. Look at that. Tusking the mud, head-butting the mud. Having a good old time. Just a real treat seeing elephant in the drought in these mud puddles. See what's going to happen then. Trying to dig out some mud. You can see that the mud's not very sloshy. It's not a wet mud. It's more glutinous gel, near solid. Definitely not what this elephant's used to. Nevertheless, making the most of caking it on. I would say that the consistency of that mud is, when you're making a cake, it's just when the mixture's just not wet enough. That is how it is now. Rubbing that. Alright, what we're going to do while we're waiting for the rest of the herd to come down here is link you over to Brent, who's got a last few visuals of those cubs.
Okay, so the lionesses are taking the cubs back into these incredible thickets, and we're probably not going to get another visual of them, but they're moving away from where the males are. Copy, Mike, keep coming. Here we go. So all 8 present and accounted for. I can't imagine what that male must have done to get such a hiding. Now, the young lioness actually joined up with them, so there's 4 lionesses now, so not only Amber Eyes is missing. Now, Dave, just keep checking behind you in case those males pop. Oh, as I said, keep checking behind, see if those males pop up, and there we go. Now, there are apparently 3 males here. Here they go. Mike, as you come through that little shkova, come on the 2-track to your right. Okay. Now, that's 1 male. But we're going to go try to figure out what's going on here. While we do that, let's go back to Stef and those Ellies in the mud.
Some more members of this herd that we've been following have come down now to the mud, and have a look at that. He's also, that there, and I'm not joking to you, is as deep as you and I are almost. We'd be able to stand probably chest deep in that hole that elephant has just put his front foot in. Oh, almost stuck. Come on, you can do it. Pulling out. Oh, There you go. Just having the funnest time in this mud morass. You can see the difference. Look at the height difference in those two elephants. That's how deep the mud is. I know there's no sort of relevance in size there, but I'd probably come up to just about that elephant's tusk height. At 6 foot tall. And these youngsters that have come out first, the rest of this herd with those babies haven't come down yet. And maybe because of this male elephant here. And this male elephant is probably here because at least one of the 70 female elephant that we've seen today, and juveniles and calves, will probably be in estrus. And he's in attendance, as they say. He doesn't look like he's a bull elephant in muths. Nevertheless, he is a very nicely proportioned elephant, if he could do with a few larger tusks, I would imagine. Nice old guy, probably in his 30s somewhere, 30 to 35 years old. These youngsters now leaving the water, had their mud bath. You can see that the mud isn't escorting one another. They just want to have a bit of a game first. It's just joy at having had a mud bath. Oh, this big elephant, where is he going now? Is he going back to the mud? Has he let the kids play and now he's going to finish his bath? Shindle, you've asked me if this elephant gets stuck, would we do anything to save it? Ooh, that's a tough one, Shindle. Probably because this is a man-made dam. Let me say that. So yes, we would try our best to try and save this elephant. However, the equipment needed to get this elephant out of the water or out of the mud would be, I don't know if we have that type of equipment here, and way too dangerous to approach that animal stuck in the mud with a trunk and tusks like that thrashing around. The only real way you'd be able to get it out is by getting a hold of it from the back, perhaps, but that's the part that's going to be stuck first. I'm just trying to think my way through this problem, and yes, I would try, but the reality is I think this big guy, many times the size of the vehicles we're driving around on, is probably just too big. And for that reason, I think we'd have to leave it, actually. It would be too dangerous to approach too close. This isn't like a whale that his own weight keeps it immobile. These guys definitely will thrash around. If it was a calf, maybe we'd try a female elephant, maybe a youngster that we could subdue somehow. Perhaps if there was a vet prepared to come out and dart this elephant to immobilize it or calm it down, we could then get ropes or something around his body and use a tractor to pull him out. Although this guy, heavy, you're looking at these Kruger National Park bulls, he's probably in the region of about 8,000 pounds. You'd have to have a considerable, look at that. Isn't that just such a beautiful shot of an elephant? VM, once again, just showing us that he's more than he seems. Listening to us. Let's see what he decides to do. Shake of his head. Ah, yes. Those big, massive ears. 20% of his body's skin on his ears. Shannon, you've asked me a bizarre question, one that I've very rarely been asked ever. You said, do elephants' toenails grow? And do they feel similar to ours? Shannon, their toenails absolutely do grow, but like most people who work, I would say, exclusively with their hands in the sand, and I would, gardeners, and I'm thinking about people that live off of the land, who till their own land, their fingernails are quite rough and thickened from all the years of work, and yes, they are short, and they do wear themselves down. And you sometimes find elephant with longer toenails than others, but generally I wouldn't go so far as to say that these elephants are well groomed. but yes, they do feel like ours, if a bit thicker. Now, it's come to that time of the evening where, with an elephant in the background and sunset having happened, that I get to say goodbye. So from myself and VM, we just want to say thank you very, very much for having an afternoon with elephants. And I have to thank you all, of course, for all your support and watching what we do and all your questions and everything about the support and the viewership that you give us. Thank you very, very much. So from myself and VM, we're going to bid you good night wherever you are in the world. See you again tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock Central Africa time. And we're going to send you over to Brent with Sindile. All those lines, I don't quite know which he's at the moment, the lucky guy.
We are with the victor. So it looks like this male lion is the winner. If you look on the side of his face, there's some new, fresh little cuts. And now this looks like it was fighting Birmingham boy on Birmingham boy. And obviously it got a bit close to the cubs, so that lionesses got involved. And that is Amber Eyes, from what I can see. Although I can't see her, you can just see her ear there. I think. It could be the young lioness. It is quite dark already, so I might have made a mistake as she came past. But it is the male I told you was going to win, who was biding his time, while the male with the limp, with the dark male, who we saw running from the lionesses earlier, was guarding her, guarding her, guarding her. As soon as I think she came into full estrus, he had a nice big belly. He hadn't been wasting energy chasing her around. He stepped in and took his mantle at the top. Wow, what an evening it's been. Now, there's not much that could have made me leave young Sindile up in the tree, but the sound of those lions fighting was so incredible. So we heard it at the same time as Sindile. His ears popped up, his head popped up. We stopped, we listened, we heard it, and then we took off. And I really wish we could have been there when the actual fight was taking place. It is an incredible experience to see male lions fighting, or even a lioness giving a male lion a good swat. And that noise just echoed through the bush. And you can still see how heavily he's panting, even though it's cool. And he's obviously just exerted himself. But what an exciting sunset safari. You never know what's around the next corner. And that's what makes doing this every day so special. Whether it be a bagworm descending onto your dashboard like we had this morning, or a leopard silhouetted in a tree, or an epic lion fight. And Stef had some amazing elephants in the mud, and James in the Mara with zebras crossing and trying to find some cats. But hopefully he'll have a bit more success tomorrow. And there we go, the victor. So from Dangerous Dave, who's a little bit less dangerous than that male lion, and myself, it's been absolutely wonderful having you on this sunset safari, and we can't wait to do it all again early tomorrow morning.